Welcome back, YouTube pipe smokers. Mutton Chop Piper here. Today's video is entitled The Deeming Regulations, an Update. Alright, well first of all let me tell you that I downloaded the Deeming Regulations and I tried to read it, but it's like a technical manual and I hate those kind of reading situations, so I kind of gave up. But the information that I'm going to report to you today comes from reliable sources in the tobacco and the blending house industry and others who have read the regulations and understand what it's saying. So first of all, let's look at how the blends are going to be treated by the FDA. Any blend that was produced and marketed after February 15th, 2007 is subject to testing and authorization for sale by the FDA. Any blend that was manufactured and put on the market prior to February 15th, 2007 is what in America we call grandfathered in. And what that means is that no testing is required, no authorization is required. Those blends can continue to be sold as they have been in the past. So, if a blending house has a tobacco, has a blend that was manufactured and put on the market after February 15, 2007, the FDA requires that blend to be tested. Now, I have heard that the price for testing those blend components is anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million per blend. That means, let's use a couple of well-known blends. Let's say Escudo was produced after 2007. Then it has to be submitted to the FDA and it could cost $1 million for just that blend to be tested. Then let's say Elizabethan mixture, same thing. That blend has to be tested and it could cost anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million. So each blend has to be tested individually. Now, the deeming regulations, as it sits right now, goes into effect August 8th, I think. I might be wrong about that date, but it is sometime in early August that it goes into effect. So, before you freak out, the blending houses and the tobacco companies have 2 years to comply with this regulation. Because I've heard that, for one, the FDA doesn't even have the paperwork produced yet to fill out, to submit to them for each of these blends. Plus, they don't have enough agents to enforce this regulation. They're going to have to hire more agents to go around and, I mean, sure, there's not a whole lot of brick and mortar stores, but brick and mortar stores are going to be affected like online stores. So they're going to have to hire agents to go around and check to make sure of compliance. So, what does this mean? This means that we as blend buyers have 2 years to purchase all the blends that are produced, that have been produced up to now, as we have in the past. So we can go online and buy any blend we want for the next 2 years until the actual regulation is put into effect. Now, Right now, nobody can do anything. The blending houses and the tobacco companies cannot take any action until after the deeming regulation is put into effect. Once it's put into effect, they can sue the FDA and the lawsuits can go into effect. They can start doing the lawsuits. So, let me explain to you what I think is happening here, what the FDA is up to. They know that they're going to be sued. They know that there's going to be lawsuits. So, the FDA is doing the same thing as you would do if you sold something. So let me explain. Let's use a house as an example. If you're going to sell your house and you want $130,000 out of that house, you don't put it on the market for $130,000. You put it on the market for $150,000. Now, two things will come of doing this action. One, you may get more money than what you want for it. And two, once you hit that threshold, you can say, okay, that's it. We're not going any lower than $130,000. So, you put your house on the market. You put it on the market for $150,000. The buyer shows up and says, I'll give you $110,000 for it. You counteroffer, said, no, we'll go as low as $140,000. The buyer comes back with another counteroffer saying, how about $120,000? You say, no, we want $135,000. Buyer says, okay, that sounds good. So now you have met and exceeded the amount of money that you wanted for that house. That's kind of what the FDA is doing. They have put the conditions, the bar for the conditions so high that when the lawsuits start, they're hoping that when it comes down, when it comes down to the end result or the final regulation, that they will get what they actually want. They're actually after vaping. They want to regulate vaping. Cigars and pipe tobacco kind of got caught up with vaping. They didn't want vaping to be able to say, well, that's not fair. You're regulating us, but you're not regulating pipe tobacco or cigars. So they included our industry so that the vaping company couldn't come back and say, or the vaping companies couldn't come back and say, well, you're not penalizing them, and their tobacco, they're worse than what we are. So I'm hoping that after it's all said and done, when the regulation is finally put into effect, the impact on pipe tobacco and even cigars will be so minimal that it won't bother us all that much. I could be wrong, but I have a good feeling that once the lawsuits start, I think that the impact of these deeming regulations won't be as severe as they appear today. So my advice is this: don't freak out. In the next 2 years, order a few tins here and there. I'm going to do it every month, I'm hoping. 2 or 3, 4 different blends, and I'm going to put them in my cellar. That way, if the deeming regulation does take effect as is, then I'm hoping that the tobacco blends that I love, I've already got cellared, and I won't have to worry about those blends disappearing because I've already got them in my cellar. What you don't need to do is you don't need to go and do a run on the bank. What that means is, I'll explain to you what that means. Back in 1929, when the banking industry collapsed, people ran to the bank to try to get their money out before they lost it. That's kind of the same thing. Don't run out and buy up all the tobacco, because if that happens, the blending houses can't keep up, and it will ruin it for everybody. So if you can resist the urge, just buy a few blends here and there. get your cellar, and once your cellar is full, then, you know, move aside and let other people buy the tobacco to put in their cellars. It's just a suggestion. I'm just suggesting that you can do whatever you want. I just feel that it's important to not panic and not run out and buy every tin of tobacco you can before we actually even know what the final regulation is going to be. All right, well, that's about all I know. If I find out anything else, I'll do another video and give you another update. But until that time, or until my next video, I want to wish you and your family happy piping.